few announcements and acknowledging the special guests that are with us today. First of all, of course, many of you have already met our wonderful Commissioner of Agriculture, Mike Strain, who is our speaker today. And I also want to acknowledge at the head table, we're very honored to have Roger Villery, who is the National Committeeman of Louisiana to the Republican National Committee. Also, is Barbara make it? Barbara Freidler? Okay, good. Okay. We wanted to just acknowledge Barbara, who's a state representative. Thank you so much, Barbara, for coming today. Diane Cascio is with Attorney General Jeff Landry's office. Diane. Also, Terry White, who is with Garrett Graves' office and a new member of our club. Let's see, did Amber make it? Is Amber Thomas? She's not here. Okay, very good. Okay, and finally, I don't think William Wallace, is he? He's on his way. He's late. Okay, he missed his acknowledgement. Okay, I have several special announcements, but we're going to begin by inviting our special guest, Roger Villery, to the microphone, just to give us a quick update on what he's been up to.
Thank you, Seth. It's always wonderful to come to Baton Rouge, and y'all have such a great club. It's wonderful. It's good to see my friend Mike, and he's done a great job as ag commissioner, and we're excited that he's out there to protect us and watch over it. It's really important. The RNC has been doing a great job this election cycle, working and studying and putting some new committees together. We have about 5 new grassroots committees. They actually assigned me to the one to write new regulations and a new booklet that we can give to all 50 of our states to help us do a better job. When I took over as chairman of the state party, we only had one statewide elected official, and we didn't really control either house or our Supreme Court or Bessie Board or anything. And over the 14-year period I was chairman, we built up and made this a real red state. So what we're helping RNC do is develop some of the ground rules, some of the things that we did, and so we're writing new books that they'll better give out to the state parties and help other states turn their states red and hopefully do a better job. So we're working on that. I just got elected to the site selection committee. I'm representing the southern region, and this will be picking our new convention location where we're going to have our next RNC National Convention. So they put the proposals for bids out this week. We're actually going, I think on the 26th of October to Washington, D.C. To hear some presentations from some of the cities that would like to host our national convention. As soon as I hear something, I'll let y'all know. So it should be exciting wherever we can have our national convention. Hopefully we can get rid of this guy in the White House who is really we're working hard on our upcoming elections. We have an election this month, so hopefully everyone votes. We have some important elections things on the ballot. You need to look at the constitutional amendments. They're real important, so look at them and study them. I know the state party took a position on a couple of them. They're going to be issuing those positions. I don't think they've actually sent it out yet, so I'm not really going to talk about that. But that's something that you need to look at. And just appreciate the great job y'all doing. Glad to be here. And that's my short report.
Okay, and we have a new member right at this table to my left, Brenda Elgin. Brenda comes to us from Natchez, and she works for the Iris Domestic Violence Center. Yeah. And most of y'all know that that has always been one of our community service projects. And to that end, anytime you have, if you've been on a trip and you have little toiletries, grab those toiletries, because that's one thing we always give the ladies, is little hotel toiletries. And our community services chair, Susan Kramer, wants to say something.
Well, I want to thank y'all. We had a great response today. We've got a lot of new items. We're going to collect for 2 more months and we will assemble them in December. So, thank you.
Yeah, for those of you who could not hear Susan, she's just thanking all of y'all for being so thoughtful and remembering to bring toiletry items and needed items for the ladies. And we will be going before the end of the year to present those. Also, October is Domestic Violence Month. And what that means, Brenda has been going around to businesses already and asking them in some way to display the color that brings to remembrance domestic violence issues. And that color is purple. That should be pretty easy for us in Baton Rouge, right? So anyway, wear purple, and when you do, remember to say a prayer for those victims who are trying to get their lives back on track after suffering from domestic violence. Okay, we are going to have a little acknowledgement right now that is very, very important. Y'all will notice there's a table in the back. It's got 13 chairs around it, and it's decorated in patriotic remembrance for the 13 members of the military who were killed in Afghanistan. And I'm going to ask our precious hospitality chair, Mary Margaret Mook. Yes, she's going to go back there and just kind of hold up as I read these names. We have a representation of our military service members who gave their lives. If y'all would stand, please. Okay, we acknowledge the remembrance of Marine Corporal Lance Corporal David Espinoza, 20 years old, of Rio Bravo, Texas. Marine Corps Sergeant Nicole G., 23, of Roseville, California. Marine Corps Staff Sergeant Darren Taylor Hoover, 31, of Utah. Army Staff Sergeant Ryan Nouse, 23, of Corryton, Tennessee. Marine Corps Corporal Hunter Lopez, 22, of Indio, California. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Riley McCollum, 20, of Jackson, Wyoming. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Dylan Marola, 20, of Rancho Cucamonga, California. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Kareem Nukui, 20, of Norco, California. Marine Corps Corporal Dagan William Tyler Page, 23, of Omaha. Marine Corps Sergeant Johanny Rosario, 25, of Lawrence, Massachusetts. Marine Corps Corporal Humberto Sanchez, 22, of Logansport, Indiana. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz, 20, of Wentzville, Missouri. Naval Hospital Corpsman Max Sodiak, 22, of Berlin Heights, Ohio. And precious Father God, our hearts break today at the loss of our best and brightest in their service to this country while in Afghanistan. Lord, we join our hearts with the broken hearts of their family members. And Lord, you say that there will be a new heaven and a new earth, and that you will dwell among us, and death will be no more. We entrust these brave, beloved ones to you, Father, these fallen heroes, and we pray that you would wipe every tear from their warriors' eyes and fill them with your joy until they are reunited with their family members. And Lord, for these family members, your word says that just as the sufferings of Jesus flow into our lives, so also through Christ does our comfort flow. We ask you to let your comfort overtake their family members and their loved ones who are grieving and will continue to grieve for many years to come. Comfort them as only you can, precious Lord. In the mighty, majestic name of Jesus Christ, we pray this in thanksgiving. Amen. Okay, y'all may be seated. Okay, we just have a couple more announcements. And at this time, I'm going to ask our first Vice President, Lynn Cox Graham, to come forward. We just got back from the National Convention of the National Federation of Republican Women. So Lynn's going to give us a quick synopsis.
Thank you so much. I had the pleasure of representing the Louisiana Federation of Republican Women as a delegate, as an alternate delegate actually, at the NFRW 41st Biannual Convention in Orlando last weekend. Debbie Keeney and I flew in on Thursday, and Christy Hyde joined us on Friday. So you had 3 representatives from this club in Orlando. And I'm going to try to tell you a few highlights of the convention. There was a lot to learn and a lot of people to meet. Almost 1,000 people were there. The speakers were phenomenal. And Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida kicked off the convention on Friday evening by welcoming us to what he called the free state of Florida. And he got a standing ovation on that one, let me tell you. So he was great. And then we had the Honorable U.S. Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, who was just as great. And he gave an awesome speech and also got a standing ovation. Debbie Keeney and I were fortunate enough to get to meet him afterwards, have our picture made with him, and got to put a few things in his ear, such as Debbie on one side of him and me on the other said, "We want you as the next Vice President of the United States." And he went, "Really?" And we said, "Yes, and we'll help you get there." So that's all of us, okay? And then the Saturday morning general session began really early. And Wanda Asperua, our state president of LFRW, led the Louisiana flag down a parade of flags, which was very impressive, as all the states presented theirs. And that was very colorful and very nice. And we had a couple of video presentations, but we had quite a few live speakers also. Some video speakers were Ronna McDaniel of the RNC, as Roger just mentioned, and the Honorable Rick Scott, who's the senator from Florida, also good. They couldn't be there in person. Then I personally, absolutely, well, I liked them all, but Mike Huckabee, the former governor of Arkansas, was a hoot. He got us revved up on Saturday, mid-morning. And he was also promoting his daughter, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who is also running for governor. And he was really, really good speaker. He left me with this quote I had thought of all week. He left all of us with this quote. And I guess I've never heard it. But he quoted the late actor John Wayne and said, "Courage is being scared to death to do something and getting in the saddle and going ahead anyway." And I thought of all of us, and I thought of our Democratic governor, and our, what is it you call him, Jerry, our fake president, our illegitimate president. And we just can't let this happen again. We just can't. So think of that quote about courage. And we've got to be strong and courageous ourselves. And we've got to fight, not just give lip service. I'm guilty of that sometimes. But it's time to get feet moving, mouths moving, fingers typing, phone calls. Anyway, I could go on forever, I will not. Okay. Then we had a congresswoman from New York City, of all places, named Claudia Tenney, a Yankee. And she could not have been friendlier. She was so friendly to all of us. She hung out with the Louisiana delegation. She had her picture made countless number of times, and she was just great. Very, very intelligent woman. I think we'll be seeing her on the national scene one day, not in the far future. She also attended, there were 5 workshops. We had a choice of which one to go to, and Christy and I chose election integrity. And I think I can speak for you, Christy, wanted some ammunition to go back to college one with. So, the bottom line is, I mean, I had copious notes, but the bottom line is, we've got to make it harder to cheat, or else we're going to end up like the state of Vermont, who is allowing non-citizens to vote. I was shocked at that. I was really shocked at that. I was shocked at a lot of things they told us about the cheating going on in America, things I had never thought of or heard of. But I can't even repeat them all. I wish I had taped that workshop. But anyway, I think y'all get the gist of it. Again, we have got to do something. It's up to us. And Tim Scott, along with nearly all the speakers, the major speakers, said that thanks to us Republican women, we are the backbone of the party. And without us, there would be no action. And so the burden is on us, ladies. We have got to be active. And I just want to thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to be there and represent Louisiana in these Parish Republican women. Thank you. One other thing I just want to show y'all, Wanda Astarula gave us these beautiful scarves. Aren't they gorgeous? They're so pretty. I suggested to her she have more made and we use them as fundraising. Anyway, and rude, but anyway, I thought they were lovely. We wore them in the picture. There's our book.
Okay, and last but certainly not least, before we introduce our speaker for today's meeting, I want to invite one of our new members from this year, and she's so active and so committed. She's already become the LFRW fundraising chair, so she's the fundraising chair for the state organization, and that is Christy Hyde.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you, Debbie. As Debbie mentioned, I am the LFRW fundraising chair for the state for the Republican women. It is a new appointment. I've been working on ideas, the scarf being one of them to put in the shop. I think that scarf is lovely. We've got some baseball caps, we've got some visors, we've got some t-shirts, typical fare, but a lot of fun items that should be online within a week. So if you just check back very soon online, you will be able to purchase those items. I hope to hold a rather large fundraising symposium in the spring. Our dear friend Randy Ratcliffe, Randy right here at our table, has been the brains behind this venture with his wide-ranging years of experience in the fundraising field. There will be much more on that to follow once we flesh out those details. What I really wanted to talk to you about today is the work that I have been doing with a few other people. Katie Alexander, my wing girl, I'm her wing girl, I don't know. We're just, please stand up, Katie. We have been quite vocal by holding those in power accountable. We've been working on critical issues that affect us all right now, things such as critical race theory, school choice, bodily autonomy, election integrity. That's one of the things that is the most critical. If we don't fix that, if we don't fix our elections, nothing else matters. Because the imposters that are now, treasonous imposters will continue to get the stage, and we can't have that. We've been working with, we've had meetings with our legislators, our clerks of court from different parishes, and our Secretary of State. We've had some successes, and we really do hope for many more. I've been coming here month after month and meeting with you wonderful women. This has really been a pleasure and an honor for me. But in between our meetings, I feel that there is no time to waste. We have got to make our voices, the voices of we the people, heard before we lose our precious country completely. We are a powerful organization, and we need to remind our lawmakers that they are accountable to us. I know a lot of you, but I know how strong all of you are. Your presence here today is a testimony to that strength. I feel that our strength, though, is in our union, and now is the time to stand together in the face of this leftist onslaught. Each of you has special talents that can be utilized and contribute to the success of turning this country back onto the right path. And I personally cannot wait to see these talents in action. God bless you, God bless Louisiana, and God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Chrissy. Okay, and now I'm going to invite our third vice president, Lori White Adams, and Metro Council member, to introduce our Commissioner of Agriculture.
Good morning. I'm so pleased to have the opportunity to introduce to you this dedicated public servant and incredibly well-educated and well-versed and energetic man. Dr. Mike Strain took the oath of office for his fourth four-year term as Louisiana's Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry on January 13th, 2020. A native of Covington, Strain earned a doctorate in veterinary medicine from LSU in 1983. In 1999, he was elected to the first of two terms as state representative, where he served on the Agriculture Committee and chaired the Legislative Rural Caucus. He was twice named Legislator of the Year by the St. Andy Parish Alliance for Good Government. In 2003, the LSU School of Veterinary Medicine presented Strain its Distinguished Alumni Award. Strain was awarded the Future Farmers of America's highest national award, the Honorary American Degree, in August of 2009. And he was inducted into the LSU Alumni Hall of Distinction in May 2010. Strain was named Conservationist of the Year in January 2012. In January 2013, he was named Veterinarian of the Year of the Louisiana Veterinarian Medical Association. He previously served terms as president of SUSTA, the Southern United States Trade Association, SASTA, the Southern Association of State Departments of Agriculture, and NASTA, the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture. He holds a commission from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and serves on the Board of Trustees of the Council for Agricultural Science and Technology. Strain is married to Dr. Susan Searcy of Hot Springs, Arkansas, and they have 2 adult children. I have no idea how he finds the time to do all of this, but also find the time to join us to be our speaker today. So without further ado, Dr. Strain.
Thank you, Ms. Laurie. I'm going to take you on the campaign circuit with me, right? Remember what Will Rogers said. This government is run by those people that show up. Okay? So first of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. And for every person who gets involved, there's another 100 that does not. And someone asked me, a fellow veterinarian, when I became head of the Veterinary Medical Association, which was my first year in the legislature as well, and I was also on the Farm Bureau. I had like 5 different offices. And someone said, what is your biggest challenge? I said, motivation of hearts and minds. And I said, I can tell you, as head of the Veterinary Medical Association, and at the time we had 800 doctors, 400 hospitals, right? And I can remember one day one of them telling me, Doc, I don't get involved in politics. I just want to practice. That's your job, so you don't understand. If you don't get involved in politics, politics is going to get involved with you, right? And and when you're up there in the legislature, and I'm glad to see Representative Freiburg. Did I get that right? Woo! Okay, I practiced. I did practice, right? But when you hear from someone back home, it means a lot. And so in my previous life, before I was commissioner, before I was a legislator, I was on the lecture circuit, imagine that, right? And one of the things I did was teach political activism, how to be that person. And whether it was mostly physicians, because they're much worse than veterinarians and out there about being politically involved, but also many different groups, and I traveled the country. And then the next part of my teaching was when I was working for the CDC. I was teaching bioterrorism. After 9/11, we were recruited by the CDC and Homeland Security to travel the country lecturing on bioterrorism. So we were, quote, the terror talkers. But I have to be very careful, because some of those slides you wouldn't want to show around lunchtime, right? But educating people how to be better prepared. So as I was working on this, and of course I've had, my confidential assistant, Mr. Todd Parker, there. He's been working to do the electronic stuff, but by this morning I had it, can you say 100% messed up? Right? And I thought it would work. It was so bad. Let me tell you how bad it was. I had to go get another computer. He said, look, this is toast, right? But again, talking about and trying to explain what is going on, because there is a lot going on. And I can tell you we are now reaching and getting concerned of private citizens. Just before I left, I picked up the phone. It was a dear old friend of mine. His name is Rayburn Smith. This guy started off life driving a cattle truck. Not his own truck. He was a truck driver, right? Now he is a multi-millionaire, right? He works hard every day. He and I have done business for almost 40 years. And he called me up. I don't know if he knows my first name. It's Doc, right? So Doc, what are we going to do? How are we going to deal with this? How am I going to keep my farm? How am I going to pass this on to the next generation? How am I going to pay my taxes? How am I going to get parts for that old Peterbilt truck? What can I do? I said, it's real simple. Get involved, stay involved, speak your mind, and let's move forward. And we're going to do that. And so I'm bringing him into the fold. I'm also now the incoming chairman of what's called Ag America. That's the ag wing of the RSLC. I did that once before for a number of years. It's a 2-year term, so I will be there for the midterm elections. So we're going to have some slides, but then I'm going to show you some videos and we're going to talk about that. Because Brenda, I'm glad you're here. If anybody wants to know what the color purple is, all you got to do is look under my eye. Right? I've been asked so many times what happened, right? I've had a lot of fun with that, right? A lot of fun. But I have to tell the truth sort of, right? Sort of, right? So you remember those Lucky Strike commercials? Remember Lucky Strike? I know Roger remembers. So I can pick on him, right? So a group of Democrats came to me and wanted to know if I would switch to be Democrat to run for governor. Do you know what the slogan is of Lucky Strike? I'd rather fight than switch, right? That's right. Somebody said, well, what did the other guy look like? So actually look much better. But unfortunately, each of us are affected by the frailties of the human condition, which means I fell. That's looking forward, okay? But I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. But I tell you, it does bring you acutely back to thinking about your immediate priorities and what's important. So what we have here today, we talk about the certified family of products. And that's a program we're working really hard. And if you hear me on the radio, I get to do a syndicated radio show every day. Now, it's on 24 stations. It's a 15-minute monologue. And I get to talk about anything I want. It used to be live. Y'all got that, right? Now it's paused. I can't believe they got the guy with a button on there in case I get, but that's okay. It's close, right? They don't edit too much, right? Because I'm supposed to be, quote, non-political. That is so hard, right? It's so hard. But we talk about how we grow our economy. And again, I want you to look for those certified family of products. Next slide at the top. Can you hit the next slide? Or do I need to do it from here? There you go.
You can do it from there.
So, if you listen to me talk before, a lot of things that I do, I use the words like people. And I want you to think about this, okay? Civilization as we know it began with what? A grain of wheat. 10,000 years ago. Civilization as we know it depends on what now? A grain of wheat, food source, right? You take the most powerful weapons of war ever developed, a nuclear-powered missile, submarine, with enough firepower in that one machine, more firepower in one machine than has been used in all wars ever fought combined. Can stay underwater 20 years with the exception of what?
Food.
Food, right? Food, agriculture. It is critical, and we are an agricultural powerhouse. And one of the things I say, and I say it every day, and and I know we have a legislator here, but I have to tell my listening audience, when you visit your legislator, remind them it is a natural resource-based industry, ag, forest, agriculture, oil, gas, mining, minerals. These are the foundational industries of our economy. Wealth begins with the earth. We must protect it. We must utilize it properly. We must enhance it. After that, we can build and grow the economy. So I put that up there. So I like to talk Socratically, and I better turn my timer on because I get carried away and I might run over time, and I swear I cannot deal with two black guys. Right? What is all that? What is this?
Chaos.
Chaos, right? Yeah, really bad stuff, right? National crisis. So what I have is, COVID, then of course, Sleepy Joe, right? Ida and Nicholas, right? Ida and Nicholas. 4 catastrophes. Next slide. Now I want you, and this is in today's Advocate, right? This is what's happening right now. $3.5 trillion. The vast majority is for what kind of infrastructure? What's the word?
Human infrastructure.
Social human infrastructure. What the hell is that? Right? And that's right now. We don't have this money. This is borrowed money. Okay? And so when you start looking at this, and here, this is the second part, right? Have y'all noticed inflation? What is amazing, the president said, we got to get a handle on inflation. Oh, I know, we'll give away more money. Now, I did study economics. I took one course at LSU, Dr. Shoup, 7:30 in the morning. I slept through the first 30 minutes. I understand, right? But you can't keep printing money. Our national debt, you see our national debt? It's over $225,000 for man, woman, and child. It's got to stop, and it's got to stop now. Now, how many of you in here think we need any of this $3.5 trillion today?
No.
No. And do you know what Louisiana's share of $3.5 trillion is supposed to be? About $6 billion. $6 billion. How many think we ought to build as we go, pay as we go, grow the economy, right? It's real simple. I've often advocated for a balanced budget amendment to the United States Constitution. And look, I understand that we can't cut off the deficit spending. If you got rid of all discretionary spending, 100% of it, we still have a deficit every year, right? So I have a proposal. Let's pass a bill and have the states vote on it. The only way you can deficit spend is with a 2/3 vote of each house. And it can only be done in times of national crisis. And you do this, and we will reduce the national debt over a 100-year period. First 10 years, we'll cut down the growth of the deficit by 10% a year. And after 10 years, guess what? We're flat. Then you start paying it back at about 0.75% per year. Makes common sense. That's the problem. Right? Next slide. Next slide. Well, we have all the good news, right? Right? Biden's polling ratings are going to the tank.
Yeah.
Right? And what was his best day?
Inauguration day.
All right. You know why? There wasn't nobody there. Right? But it started after that. He made promises. And not Democrat, Republican, but true socialist promises. I mean, true socialism. Moving to communism, right? You understand this, that we're going to redistribute the wealth of America? That's not socialism. Right? Unto each according to their needs, from each according to their abilities. Right? That's not how this country is built. Next slide. So again, there's hope on the horizon. They're developing more and better vaccines. Right? COVID is going to be behind us in about another year. Right? I hope we can get it behind us. The good news is it's mainly in the human population. That's a big deal. It doesn't move like influenza between 3 different species. The influenza, you ever notice why we call it the swine flu, the avian flu, the human flu? Well, that's the 3 species, right? But if we can knock this out, there's approval ratings going down, and guess what? The sun's coming out, we're going to get ahead of these storms. But there's a but to these storms. How many of you believe that we need to prepare for more and stronger storms. Right? That's incumbent upon us as leaders and everyone to do that. So we need to get ready. They even talking about this in the Midwest. It's a big discussion in the Midwest. And of course, our crews, I tell you, these people, they work very, 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 very hard. As of today, we still have between 6,800 and 7,000 people out of power. We started off with 1 million, right? And the entire infrastructure was destroyed going down to Luncheon. Why don't you play that first video, if you can? And then we're going to talk about what's in that video. How many of y'all ever been to Luncheon? That's right. That is America's energy super bowl. How many of y'all ever look at the road to Luncheon? Right? So yeah. You're not on the screen, but he can handle it. He's much better at this than I am. What I'm going to show you is right after the storm, we flew the river. And I can guarantee you haven't seen any of this. That's an Ag Force 1. For your information, that's a 182. That's a 182 Cessna, right? They make me get on the scale before I get in and see what I weigh. Mississippi River from Baton Rouge all the way down to Myrtle Grove and Point Celeste. We looked at everything on the river and then we came back inland. And what we saw was a great deal of damage. We saw many barges that were... Look at those barges. Look at those ships. Those barges sank. Look at that. That is an oil export. That's a grain ship. Many different facilities. Grain elevator. And we took a real hard look at what was going on with our different grain export facilities, taking stock of the damage that is there. Most of the swimming farms that were on the western side of Highway 23 were inundated with water. We also went further down into Blackman Terrace, the lines of Run Road, and saw where there's some stranded livestock. So where all the flooding was, and of course flew over a number of refineries. And you can see that along the river, everything is static. There's a tremendous number of barges and tugboats that are just basically just staying very still, not moving. And also all the ships that are in the river. That are grounded, that they can't push them off because they may have to wait for the river rise. It's imperative that we get this commerce back in motion, that we get these barges off the lake and get them floated, get them moving, and start moving grain and product. That's the economic lifeblood of America. The Mississippi River, that's the lifeblood. That's the commercial highway for the United States. And it's imperative that we get it back in motion. Well, absolutely, to be able to reach the open we have many times in the past. And, you know, we never made to experience that because we've been through so many storms, you know, in the last 20 years. Our thoughts and prayers go out to all the families affected, and just know this, as we always have done in the past, we're going to get through this together. All right, Todd, you can cut that off and put it back in the slides. So what you saw, now we sent this to all the national media. Not one picked it up. Now what you saw on television was there in the French Quarter about one roof that blew over, right? That Mississippi River is the economic lifeblood of the United States. The immediacy, right? We tried to start getting those elevators going. We started trying to find alternative places to store the grain. Why did we do that? So, simple. What's going on in America right now? The harvest. Where's that grain got to go? Out of those terminals. What happened immediately? Price of grain did what? Went down, right? Because now they got to try to ship it out of the east and west coast ports. Have y'all seen what's going on in the ports? Did y'all see Wall Street Journal today? They can't move anything, right? Now it's in the Carolinas, it's in California, no labor. So what we're doing now, we're working full, so we push hard to get that river open, right? See all those barges, they need to be up north. Those ships need to be at docks. 5 of the 7 grain elevators that export 60% of the nation's export grain were out. What else happened? What could you not find anywhere after the storm? Gasoline. And why is that? How come you couldn't find gas? So yeah. Now I guess somebody has to be telling Biden, look, it's a good idea to stop production in America and tell the Saudis and OPEC to increase production because somehow that's good for climate change, right? You want to understand the effects a bad public policy, right? What immediately do you need in a disaster? What happens? What do you need first? Gas, water to drink, gasoline, diesel, power, right? And some area there in Lafourche, that's right, and Lafourche still don't have power, right? Now look, I believe in oil, I believe in gas, I believe in biodiesel. Look, wind power and solar power, that's cool too, right? Did you see any Teslas? Now you may have a Tesla, I'm not picking on you, but did you see any Teslas running around the Luncheon? Right? My point is, we went from the space age to the Stone Age, right? Instantly. We got to have redundancy. Exxon wasn't affected up here, right? Neither was Placid. Do you know why they weren't making gasoline? They couldn't get nitrogen. Nitrogen came from a company called Air Liquid further down the river that lost power. They got to have power. And what else happened? You got all this oil in the underground caverns, can't get to the refineries. Why? No power to run the pumps and the pipelines. So the whole system was at failure. And my job is to fuel all emergency services and the government. I'm in charge of fueling the government. That's under the Department of Ag and Forestry, right? We ran over 48,000 fuel missions, delivered more than 2 million gallons of fuel. And so while you can't get fuel, I got to get fuel, right? So I ended up buying barges of fuel on credit. They said, you have to pay us in 10 days. I said, certainly. Right? What are you going to do? Then I pick up the phone and I call the treasurer and said, look, I got to have some money. So why? I said, I don't know if these people are going to be happy on day 11. Right? But I ended up buying 2 barges, almost 2 million gallons of fuel on barges, which saved $750,000 actually. But to have it. And then we had to use tankers to pump that off. But the bottom line is bad fuel policy, bad public policy. What else has happened with the impending credit? Go to the next slide. Get the next slide. Okay, you let that. You can think about that. We'll come back to that. What's happening when you pass this $3.5 trillion? What happens to us? Taxes, corporate taxes. When Reagan lowered corporate taxes, 60+% of all the money saved by the companies went to who? The workers. Right? What happens? You know, we're in business. I'm in business. In order for me to invest, to grow jobs, to have redundancy in infrastructure, I got to have what? Money. Right? You tax me, guess what I don't have? Money. And if I know that when I die, you're going to take it all, guess what I'm not going to do? That's exactly right. What is the biggest crisis currently today facing our American farmers? The biggest thing, the number one thing on their mind right now, every day when they get up at breakfast, right? Debt, and now I'm not going to be able to pass this farm on to my kids. And it's $3.5 trillion. They talk about this inheritance tax. Let me tell you what it means. Texas A&M, any of y'all are Aggies, I got to give you credit, even though it's hard for me as an LSU boy, right? They did a study. The average farmer, $725,000 would be the taxes on debt. Now, if you look at the cash flow, you look at the profitability, you look at the earnings, guess what is not going to happen? Right? Have y'all read the articles about Bill Gates buying up the farmland? Yeah. Right? Todd, you got a call from the Embassy of Japan wanting to know if there was any limits on the purchase of farmland by corporations? Right? They're putting monies together. Why? Because if I die and I cannot send or sell my family farm to my family, can you outbid Wall Street? No, you cannot outbid Wall Street, right? Why are American farms so productive? I asked the sugarcane growers, and this guy was given the award for the highest level of production down in St. James Parish. He hit 9,500 pounds per acre. And today at 37 cents a pound, that's a nice number, right? On sugarcane. That's about, his share is $2,750 an acre. How did you learn? Did you go to LSU? Yeah. I went to Nichols Food. Okay. How did you learn? Did you work with the Ag Center? Yeah, the Ag Center did come out here. You have consultants? Yeah, but how did you? So that's what did it. He said, no, sir. I can learn from my daddy. My daddy learned from his daddy. And his daddy learned from his daddy. What I'm saying is agriculture is in our hearts and in our souls. Like when I was talking to Rayburn Smith this morning, because he sold a lot of cattle for me, and I told him this morning, I'd really like to have my cows back. Right? I'm sorry. He said, yeah, because it's in your heart, it's in your soul, it's in your blood. Right? And when I tell people a farm is like a marriage, it's not like a light switch. You don't turn it on and off. It gets better over time. That is what is at risk in American agriculture. 1 in 3 acres of our production is sold and exported. Right? It'll be $165 billion. It's the only part of America that has had a positive balance of trade for 50 years and growing. Y'all see those commodity prices this morning? So that's another reason I'm smiling so good, right? Cotton was $1.03 a pound. $1.03. And right now we do what's called 3-bale cotton. That means 1,500 pounds per acre. My friends, that's real money, right? You look at the price of corn, the price of beans. But you also need, if you have time, and I know you like me at late at night, you like to read all those statistics. There's a report called the WASDA report. Just read the summary. You don't have to read all 75 pages. World Agricultural Supply and Demand. And you will see that the world's supply is diminishing relative to demand. And in a number of categories, specifically rice, cotton, beans, that the world's consumption is outpacing supply. You got that, right? And you think about that. So you think about what the challenges are and what the opportunities are. This is going to be next session. Of all the legislative things that I've ever done, reapportionment was the hardest. It tears at your heart. Why does it tear at your heart? Because your neighbor in the seat next to you may lose their district, right? There's going to be a shift. Now we know that probably 100,000 people are going to relocate after these hurricanes. 100,000. And it may be more if you start looking at the storms of last year in the Lake Charles area. It's a redistribution, right? So reapportionment is going to be tough. Now that may or may not be considered in this next time. But things have changed. Things have definitely changed. And so what does reapportionment mean? It means a lot. You need to pay attention to this. So we surely do not want a judge to reapportion, right? That needs to be done by the legislature. And look, it needs to make rhyme and reason, right? But again, that sets up the legislative process for 10 years. It's that important. So again, next slide. And again, everything is about world economics. And as you see now, y'all been watching the price of oil. Did y'all read about it yesterday? Right? Oil almost hit 80. It backed up a little bit. It's jumping up. And why is oil going up? They're saying item, one, right? And also just pure world economics, right? And what's happening, the world economies are going to increase. There's other things here. Want to lock down climate change, right? They're saying, you know what? By 2040, oil and gas is still going to account for 73% of all energy, right? Now the predictions of oil are $90 a barrel by January 1. $80 a barrel any day, right? And what happens? What happens if oil hits over 100? What does it do to the economy? It slows it down. Inflation, right? So again, world economics, everything affects everything else. Next. And again, we are getting on the other side of this, thank goodness, right? It has caused disruption, and we're going to continue to move. Next.
Y'all got the JBE.
We'll have that conversation later. Exchange rates. How many of y'all look at exchange rates? For a long time, the American dollar was weakening, getting weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. And what we've seen in the last few days is it's strengthening, but exchange rates make a big deal. What was the number one fight with China? Number one fight.
Currency manipulation.
Currency manipulation. That's right. So what does that mean? So what's the big deal about China changing the value of their currency? It's real simple. Right? When the dollar goes up versus the Chinese money, right? What happens, it costs us more to export and it's cheaper for us to import. So we import more stuff with a higher dollar. We sell less stuff abroad. Now, if you don't manipulate the currency, it's supposed to even out, right? But I can tell you, that we look at the euro is weakening again, their economies are weakening, but it affects copper. Did y'all see the price of copper? Gold, steel, rice, all of those things. Did y'all watch what happened with iron ore, right? It went up fourfold, now it's backing up. Y'all wouldn't buy any lumber lately? Right, nice. Look, I got my feelings hurt. Look, I'm the commissioner of Forestry, right? But I went and bought a 12-foot, 2x12 treated, right? One board, right? And it, like I said, you got a couple of credit cards, right? It was about $65. Right, next. But again, when you look at these numbers, and this is world food and supply, look at wheat. We produce 794 million metric tons. We're consuming 792. There's 297 million metric tons in inventory. Coarse grains, 1495 produced, 1489 consumed. Look at rice. That's the #1 starch worldwide. 506 million metric tons produced, 514 million metric tons consumed. And that's the third year in a row. We only have 164 million metric tons in inventory. That means about a 3 or 4 month supply. Right? Next slide. So if you look at sugar, you look at meat, you look at coke, you see how tight all that is, right? Look at cotton. You want to know why cotton is $1.03? We produce 121.42 million bales. We consumed 140. And why do you look at cotton versus corn and beans? Cotton makes great shirts, right? Right? American cotton shirts, not Egyptian cotton. American cotton, right? Right? You can't eat cotton. Okay? Cannot eat cotton. People are looking. Now, they're going to try to produce more cotton next year because of dollar premium, right? And so they're going to produce less corn. But what else? And so what is that dynamic? What else is happening? Y'all see the price of natural gas? $5.70. Do you know what it averaged last winter? $3.50. All right. What do you make fertilizer, ammonia fertilizer out of? Natural gas. So this morning, 2 phone calls back, I get a call from Helena Chemical. So, Doc, says, you know, the price of fertilizer, nitrogen fertilizer, is up $76 a ton today. Right? And so, what uses most of the fertilizer? Corn's a big user. Second, cotton, less of beans. So, what they can plant next year? Cotton, beans, less corn. Those dynamic shifts. But when you start looking at that, and again, what I'm throwing up there, those are the bread baskets of the world in green. Look how much of the world is not green. Right? Look how much is not green. Next. World population. Okay? Look where we're headed. Now, when you get past 2050, that line goes flat. What happens on that day? The ladies not dress up? You know, the boys and girls not like boys and girls? That's the Rubicon, where the natural resources of the world cannot, even with our science, our innovation, our technology, support an increased population. That is real. Okay? We're trying to figure out how to advance that. But when y'all go out and look at a field of corn or a field of cotton or a field of sugar cane, right? In order to feed that population, we have got to triple production in the United States. By triple production. I want you to look at those fields next time, and I want you to figure out how can we triple the number of plants in that? Science, innovation, technology, right? Science is good. Science is not bad. Must be regulated. But it is absolute necessity. Next, please. And again, look at the different areas. Look at Europe. Europe's going to lose population. Okay? You can see more in Africa and Asia, and their economy is going to grow relative to ours. And so again, that is the future market for commodities. Next. Okay. So commodity prices, you've seen the Dow, it got up there to 35,000. You know, corn is strong at 539, and in 2012 it hit 825. Wheat prices moving up, beans moving up, cotton is strong. That's $2.13. That was for only about 1 week. Sugar is solid. So if you look at all of these commodities, we can live with these commodity prices. But the bottom line is that we need continued stability. And on the world stage, you see what natural gas, yesterday was $5.45, today it's $5.73. But I want you to look at the price of gas in the Netherlands. 26, 25. Look at the price. You know, they were rioting this week in Europe over the price of energy. We have 300 years supply of natural gas in the United States. And, you know, I've asked my farmer, I said, man, that is a really fine John Deere tractor. How you pay for that? These old cows, they said, real simple. See that all well over there, son? But it all adds together, right? We are in the export business. We are net exporters of gas, natural gas, and oil. And again, that can help our economy. So the bottom line is that we have to fight very hard to keep public policy based on capitalism, okay? Not socialism, to grow our economy. I hear from my farmers, I hear from my business people, and I get the same message every day. They say, Doc, I can't get anybody to come to work. That's got to end. And I think that it will. So again, I know I've used my 20 minutes, my timers went off twice. I want to thank you again for getting involved. Tonight we're going to be having a fundraiser at the GOP at the Pontchartrain Yacht Club at 7 o'clock. Senator Mizell, Senator Hewitt will be there. I will be there. And again, everything that you do for engagement is critical. We must engage on a grassroots level. You know, we're talking about the next governor's race, right? We cannot allow the Democrats to haul people to the polls and outvote us, right? We've got to get people to go vote. And you got to energize people. We got to stay involved. And that's the only way. Because they have a plan, and the plan is real simple. Their plan is for the Republicans to tear each other apart. And then to convincing Republicans to stay home, and then they're going to haul everybody they can in the second primary, right? That's the strategy. We know that. You know, of course, you don't have to have glasses on to see that either, right? What's that? They've done it already. And we're going to have to be very, 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 very involved during the midterm elections, which I intend to be. That's part of my job with the RSLC, to get out there through America to help get people elected and then be extraordinarily involved for the next presidential race. Because it's important. Will it affect you and I? A little bit. Will it affect our kids? A lot. But it means the future of this country to our children and our grandchildren. That's what it means. So again, I want to thank you. I know I've used up my time. And again, with that, I guess I have time for any questions. And yes, ma'am.
Who is behind all these trucker strikes that's holding up the food and making it ruin?
Well, there's several things involved. One, for instance, you know, there was a discussion this morning that a whole school system had to order out because no one at the cafeteria showed up. Nobody. So the strikes, the unions are behind that one, higher wages. But the other problem is we simply can't get people in those trucks. You saw in the United Kingdom, they had to get the military out to drive the British petroleum trucks with fuel in for the citizens, right? I simply do not understand. There are good jobs available, and people aren't getting them. And sooner or later, the free's got to run out. But you cannot keep giving money, and I'm talking about whatever how you do it, right? Because they're not going to go back to work. But I will tell people this: if you don't take that job, science, innovation, technology, and American know-how are going to make that job obsolete. Ma'am?
Coming in, this is going to make everybody happy. Joe Manchin said, I am not signing. He's not signing the 3.5.
And there's no need for
Thank
that.
God.
Look, the economy is moving back. You know, the dollar's getting stronger. There's plenty of jobs. We don't, look, this $3.5 trillion is not relevant, right? You know, it's a legacy, a new great society. In the Wall Street Journal, you know, just the other day, there was a whole essay on how the, quote, this great society is hurting the very people it's designed to help. Yes, ma'am.
What do you think the future of the small farmer is? Since Bill Gates owns 70,000 acres in Concordia Parish, right?
Yes.
30,000.
Well, I think he owns 35,000 now that he left, him and his wife kind of split up. He owns 230, 250,000 acres in the United States, right? So there was a very good article about why is Bill Gates buying land. Why? Have you seen in yesterday's news, the price of farmland continues to escalate, right? Have you heard that song on the radio? It's a country song. It says, buy dirt, right? What that means is that has a value. It's always going to have a value. The value is going to grow. And the price of farmland, there was farmland in Iowa that was selling a few weeks ago at $19,000 an acre. Now, you can't produce and pay for it, but it's not based on what it's worth today, right? With the increase in production, increase in commodity prices, right? Think about the value of land. I've got a farmer, I talked to him last night, and he leases his farm. He doesn't farm it. Now, it's 1,000 acres. His share for the lease is bringing $200 an acre. It's $200,000, right? So if you look at the value of farmland, the small farmer, if you can hold the farm, but you have to redefine what small means too, right? So now, fruits and vegetables, that's 24 to 50 acres. Cattle farm, small cattle farm, hobby farm, 25 to 50 acres. But other than that, a small farm is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,000 acres, right? Simply because you have to have scale. You know, we talk about cotton at $1.03. Now, Roger knows, thinking on it, price of a cotton picker. One machine, price of a cotton picker, $865,000. That's one machine, right? Agriculture is big business, right? But I think the future depends on politics. It depends on what we do, right? Because they're going to work hard. Science, innovation, technology, you know, and your average farmer is extremely well educated, right? And the very height of science, innovation, and technology. And the only one can destroy that, right, is we the government. Yes, sir.
Everybody's talking about farming and land and cattle and corn and rice and cotton, but we're forgetting about our fishermen down in agriculture part. I've been spending a lot of time down in southern Louisiana in the last 3 weeks from my show, and those guys are hurting down there bad.
They are. What we are doing now, fisheries, onshore fisheries comes under me. In other words, crawfish. Right. Everything else is under wildlife division. I'm working with Secretary Manasseh, right? British Petroleum has donated fuel, so we're moving 100,000 gallons of donated fuel from British Petroleum, moving it into the ice houses and to the shrimp boats. We're doing that. We also last week have applied for a USDA grant, right, that we can try to help them. It's relatively small. It's only about $4.2 million, but to help them with any associated costs with COVID, because that's what the grant's working on. So we have administered fisheries programs before on behalf of U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Department of Natural Resources. Fisheries in general comes under the Federal Department of Natural Resources, right? But you're right, they are hurting, and we're trying to get them some fuel, get them some ice, doing everything we can to help them, and also trying to find alternatives for cold storage for their crop. And we've had a couple companies really stepped up to say that we can help them store their crop. So we are cognizant of that, and I'm working with Secretary Manasseh on that. But thank you, it's a very good point.
Commissioner Shane, we have enjoyed this so much.